Gee, this is a toughie. What in the devil am I gonna do? You called. I'm your dark side, your underbelly, your worst impulse. Well, what do you want? Why to help you out, buddy boy? Oh, bad uncle. Is that the way you want to win Laura? Through treachery and deceit? Well, I'm thinking.
Every time you felt torn between two different choices, you weren't battling a choice between good and evil. You were torn between two different identities, deciding which identity to shift into and which to leave behind. You were experiencing two versions of yourself competing for the throne of your subconscious mind. If you grew up in the 80s or in the early 90s like I did, you've seen this moment happen dozens of times to your favorite characters. They find themselves in a tough situation and they are frozen with indecision. And suddenly, boom, an angel appears on one shoulder, a devil on the other. Steve Urkel had it happen to him in Family Matters. I remember that. It was in those Tom and Jerry cartoons when Devil Jerry was on demon time the entire episode for no reason. This symbolism was everywhere back then, so you know that the real knowledge must be even deeper. On one shoulder, the angel whispers, "Do the right thing." The other shoulder, it whispers, "Do what feels good." And whoever that character was that was stuck in the middle, they weren't just paralyzed. They were unconsciously knowing that their reality is going to drastically change, and it all depends on which one of those tiny voices is more convincing. But those voices are just reflecting back the beliefs you're already committed to. We laughed at it, we dismissed it, but we lived through the same dynamic every single day without realizing it's actually happening to every single one of us, inside of us. Those voices on your shoulder, they were never about morality. They were about righteousness or some cosmic battle for your soul. What you are experiencing isn't a moral dilemma, it's an identity war. The devil on your shoulder isn't evil. It's the old you powered by that old survival identity. It's influencing you toward what feels comfortable right now, even when right now won't feel comfortable tomorrow and the day after that. The version of you that's been trained to keep things familiar, predictable, safe, even when safe translates into stagnation. But the angel on your shoulder, it isn't really righteous exactly. It's your thriving identity, the version of you that knows you've outgrown your old life. It's the quieter voice that sees you as the person having the income, the relationships, the freedom you've actually been capable of having this whole time before your survival identity chimed in to say that it was impossible. And if you pay close, very close attention to our TV trope examples, the devil is always the loud, condescending voice. The angel is the calmer, more persuasive voice. And the conflict between them, that tension you feel every single time you're about to make a big choice, or even those small choices that you know are going to domino into something greater, that's the identity conflict. Because the identities fueling those decisions already have a set of beliefs hard coded into them. We've all been trained to believe that this battle is about morality or external forces fighting over our soul, over our mind, when really it's about the identity that you're willing to embody, and the life attached to it has no choice but to materialize afterwards. Our education system has conditioned us to believe that choosing one is bad and choosing the other is good. But the truth is simpler and much more powerful than that. Identity conflict is simply the familiar versus the unknown. Yesterday's version of you versus tomorrow's version of you. Will you contract, or will you stay comfy, or will you embrace the temporary discomfort of expansion? And the outcome of this conflict determines which reality you wake up in next. So let's just say you're standing in front of a mirror right now, maybe literally, maybe just metaphorically, and you think you're fighting your thoughts, but you're simply making a choice. One that other people will never know that you made, but they will definitely see the evidence of it. Let's say that someone is struggling to build wealth. Let's use that for example today. They're stuck in the same income bracket and wondering why money always feels just out of reach. When you dig into what's actually happening beneath the surface during this identity war, you'll find conflicting beliefs fighting for territory in the subconscious mind. On one hand, maybe their parents drilled into them that success is measured by how rich you are. On the other hand, they were also told that money is the root of all evil and that the rich people are greedy and they're the true problem with society. Two completely different belief systems, both infused into the same nervous system. So now there's an identity conflict. And when it's time to make a decision, when it's time to take a risk, when it's time to charge what they're actually worth, when it's time to step into a bigger stage with their brand or with their voice, with their presence, success stays just out of reach because the thriving identity and the survival identity are predicting two entirely different outcomes. The more this person defines themselves as good, the more their brain unconsciously reinforces the equation. Rich people are evil. And reality mirrors that belief by doing everything in its power to push money away from our person, because that's what keeps their internal story consistent. Future Sean here, popping in to remind you to enroll into my Innoverse program. 5 transformative courses to guide you and aid you in your next identity shift. Click the link down below in the description or in the pinned comment. Back to our regularly scheduled program. The moment you identify these conflicting beliefs, you disassemble them. You ask yourself, what would I rather choose to believe? Because someone else handed you those set of beliefs, but you have all the authority to rewrite them. You're choosing which identity you get to project onto the mirror every single day, every single moment. You're selecting which version of you becomes visible in your reality. The survival that keeps you repeating those same loops and same patterns and same mistakes, or the thriving identity that pulls you into the timeline you've been imagining in your head for years now. The doubter, right there on your shoulder, will try to convince you of this old sequence that is still in effect. Do, have, be, act in the 3D world, accumulate things, overcome blocks, and then, and only then, if luck is on your side, you get to reap the rewards. You do the work, you get the money, you get the woman, and then you become someone successful. But that solving identity on the other shoulder, he knows the real algorithm. Be, have, do. You first hold a state of already being successful in your mind, which projects outward as the circumstances that match it, and the actions required to make it real follow automatically as a consequence, not the cause. And the mirror doesn't care which identity you choose. It just reflects whichever one you're being at the moment. The God source universe doesn't judge your survival identity as wrong or your thriving identity as right. It reads your energy, it scans your ID, it reads your behavior, your choices, and it moves accordingly. So when you're stuck between those two voices, you're experiencing the exact moment where your reality splits. One choice will reinforce the familiar, one choice will activate the new. Both are available. They're always available. Both are valid. Only one moves you forward, though. And when you choose to stop framing it as good and evil, or right versus wrong, or angel versus devil, the identity war enters into an armistice simply because you're no longer confused about what's happening anymore. You're just choosing survival over thriving, old you or new you. There's no battle. There's just the mirror waiting to reflect your new beliefs. As above, so below. As within, so without. You hear that and you think it's some mystical poetry meant for chanting at a monastery on top of a mountain, but it's actually the blueprint for how reality construction works. Reality doesn't mirror what your ego thinks you are. It mirrors what you actually are, what you live along with the behavior and the choices that sync up with it. The version of you that's operating behind the scenes, that's making all the choices, holding all the assumptions, projecting all the beliefs into the field around you. That's what the mirror reflects back. And here's where our fellow human beings can start to distort that mirror by waiting for evidence before the identity shift activates. They want the bank account to prove that they're wealthy before they feel wealthy. They want the partner to prove that they're unconditionally loved and adored and respected. They want respect before they behave like someone respectable. They're stuck in the old sequence. Do, have, be, waiting for the 3D world to give them permission to become who they want to be. The mirror doesn't work that way, though. You have to be it first. Be. You have to be it. You have to embody the identity before the evidence arrives. Because the evidence isn't really the cause, it's the consequence. Your thoughts matter. Yeah, sure they do, but only when your behavior and your assumptions align with them. You can think about wealth all day. You can script about it. You can visualize it. You can affirm it even if that's your thing. But if your behavior still anticipates and braces for disappointment, the mirror has no choice but to show you more of what you're being. Circumstances, nah, they're never really fixed in place. They're not set in stone. They're like a cosmic batch of Play-Doh that you get to sculpt and morph to your benefit, whatever you want to do. Responsive, waiting to be sculpted by your new beliefs and constantly updating based on the identity you're currently operating from. When you shift the identity, the circumstances follow. When you hold the new state just long enough for your brain to recognize it as real, for your body to recognize it as real, the mirror recalibrates, the feedback changes, and the reality shifts. So, as within, so without. Identity before evidence. That's the sequence I want you to memorize. I want you to hard code it into your mind. That's how this works. And if you need a walkthrough on just how to do this, tap the link that's appearing just above me to get my full walkthrough. Let's keep going. Allow me to paint a picture for you. Say you're standing in a massive room surrounded by mirrors, floor to ceiling, wall to wall, every angle reflecting back at you like one of those funhouse mirrors back in the circus. But there's just one catch here. There's one thing that makes this one different. Every reflection isn't just showing you as you are right now. Every mirror is showing an alternate version of yourself. Same face, vastly different identities. In one mirror, you see yourself wealthy, making decisions from a place of freedom rather than fear. That version of you exists right now, right in this moment, in that reflection. In another mirror, you see yourself as anxious, constantly second guessing things, waiting for the shoe to drop, trapped in patterns and loops, overthinking, self doubt, all of it. That version exists too. Another reflection shows you as calm, charismatic, and respected, commanding respect without even demanding it, and everyone adores you for it. That's a version of you that's already available. And in yet another mirror, you see yourself constantly rejected. Relationship after relationship, opportunity after opportunity, job after job, always on the outside looking in. That version is standing right there, waiting to be chosen as well. All of these reflections exist simultaneously. They're not possibilities, they're probabilities. Parallel versions of you living out different timelines based on different identities. And here's the caveat: the only way to sync up with that chosen identity is to shift your inner beliefs first. When you match it, you merge with it. And when you sustain it long enough, when you stabilize that identity consistently enough, you collapse that into the version of your physical world. The reflection becomes your reality. The mirror stops being separate from you. You step right on through it. The room of mirrors isn't choosing for you. You're choosing which reflection gets your energy, your attention, your commitment, and the one you feed is the one that materializes. Because you don't attract reality, you evoke it from within. You're not watching the movie, you're directing the movie. You're not waiting for reality to show you something, you're summoning it through the identity that you're already embodying right now. What you internally stabilize eventually externalizes. What you hold as true inside yourself becomes the filter through which reality reorganizes itself around you. You evoke what you embody. You don't wait for it to show up. You don't wait for it to validate you. You become it first, and then the validation follows. So let's remember those imaginary voices that you hear on your shoulders, the devil whispering to stay in your comfort zone, the angel calling you forward to break out of it. These voices are mirroring back your own beliefs, old and new. That dynamic was never about morality. It was always about which identity you're willing to claim. The devil isn't trying to destroy you. It's trying to keep you loyal to the version of you that no longer fits where you're going. The angel isn't trying to save you. It's trying to remind you that the version of you who's already living that life, the one that you've been imagining, scripting, visualizing, is already real. It's already waiting in one of those mirrors. Identity first, reflection second. That's the sequence. That's how this works. That's how you stop being torn between two different voices and start making decisions from the version of you who's already living where you're trying to go. So choose wisely, choose intentionally, and watch the mirror respond. If this lesson shifted something within you, type "that made sense to me" down in the comments below and let me know that this wisdom served you well. And when you're done talking about change and ready to actually show it, I've created the Innoverse program, my 5-course system designed to reprogram your subconscious mind and lock in your new identity shift. The link's in the description when you want in, and keep on exploring more episodes on the channel until you're ready for it. I am Sean, and you are neither here nor there. Thank you for sharing your time and space with me.